Oh, we're live. There we go. In Siftach. And a gorgeous morning. I'm learning about Esther and Purim. Just going to spin y'all. Everyone.
Hey, Kiki.
Okay.
Everyone join the giveaway.
Join the giveaway. Did you arrange the giveaway, Batya? Is that why you're... Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Big Facebook?
So today we will learn lots about Esther and Purim and pack it into 30 minutes or less. Ready? Let's go. Okay, so a couple of beautiful ideas about Esther. One theme that we in Purim that is beautiful is the first pasuk in Parshah Tetzaveh, which says that V'ata Tetzaveh, where Hashem tells Moshe that he should tell Bnei Yisrael, V'yikhu elecha shemen zayit zach kasis lama'or lahalos ner tamid. And in short, what it means is that he asked Moshe to ask the Jewish people to bring olive oil crushed for lighting, to light the menorah. And this is very connected to Purim in many ways. One way is the word in the pasuk that says kasis lama'or, crushed for lighting. And we learn something very deep from this, that the olives that were used for the Beit HaMikdash were crushed. In order to get the purest olive oil, you have to crush the olives. And we learned something very deep about through being crushed in our lives and through going through things that crush us, we achieve the purest oil to shine, the purest olive oil. So through crushing the olives, the most beautiful oil that lit the Beit HaMikdash shone through. And the lesson for us is that as well, we go through a similar thing. Our neshama goes through a descent in the world as well, where our neshama is crushed in a way as she descends into the world and goes through this journey of life where it's painful to come down into this world, into a body, and be separate from Hashem and endure all the struggles of life and all the painful things in life. But the purpose is that through being crushed in this world and the neshama descending and going down, we squeeze out of the neshama tremendous oil and light that the neshama can only achieve through being in this world. And the journey of our neshama parallels our journey as a Jewish nation as well. That we've gone through so many galuyot, like we discussed on Pesach, Galus Mitzrayim, and so many exiles. And through these exiles, what's the purpose of them? That just like an olive is crushed in order to give forth oil that you can only get once you squeeze the olive. Through us going through all the different galuyot, we squeeze out of us tremendous resources and light that we can only achieve through being crushed. Welcome to Franny and Debbie. So that is one theme. How do we see this play out? We see this play out through Esther and watching Esther's transformation in her story throughout the Megillah. And this is something that you will find as you read the Megillah on Purim and you learn it. You can see this journey of Esther where she was put through something so devastating and crushing to her and so challenging. And we see this transformation. So let's look at a couple of sources in the Megillah where you see Esther before she went through this challenge in her life of being crushed for lighting. And we see Esther as being someone who is a follower and someone who is not much of a leader. It meant in a couple of places, it says that Esther, well, I'll give you a few sources. One, the first time way we see Esther and her personality seems to be someone who was meek and more of a follower. It says Esther was taken against her will. And she refused to divulge her origin of being a Jew because Mordechai told her not to tell. So she constantly, and it says this multiple times, that Esther did what others told her to do. She did what Mordechai told her to do. She did what Haggai told her to do in preparing herself to reach Achashverosh. And even when Achashverosh persisted and pushed her to reveal her origins, the commentaries say that what gave her the strength not to divulge her identity was because Mordechai kept giving her that strength. So it seems that she was gaining strength from others. And we see this Esther being someone beautiful and special, but not necessarily someone of a leader. And suddenly, you see this new Esther born in the Megillah. After she goes through this crushing experience where she is squeezed and goes through something terrible, but we see this new Esther emerge. And we see this new Esther being squeezed out of her through her experience. And we go through the Megillah, and you see that Esther suddenly starts to summon. It says Esther summoned Hasach, the chamberlain of the king, and she told him to command Mordechai to do this. And throughout the rest of the journey, we see Esther commanding the king Achashverosh. She tells Achashverosh, I want to see you for a party, the king. And we see Esther emerge as a tremendous leader who saves an entire nation, not in a following way, in this leader that she would never have known that she was, to command the king, to command Mordechai. And the words in the Megillah that even says is that Mordechai did everything that Esther told him to do. This complete 180 turn or 360 turn of who Esther was before. to this new Esther. And this all emerged, and even Achashverosh, she commands him and says, I want you to come to this feast, and she commands Haman and everybody. So I wish we can get more into the sources, but I have so much I want to discuss today, but I really urge you to go through the Megillah and watch this new Esther emerge and recognize that what spurred on this new Esther, this transformation of Esther, it was the challenges that she went through, that had she not gone through the challenge of going through this terrible thing that she went through and being squeezed and crushed like the olive, she would never have found within her this tremendous strength and these beautiful, shining character traits of being able to lead an entire nation and be majestic. And even it says when she walked into his room after him not calling her for 30 days, he said that the Zohar says that majesty arrived with her, and he was taken aback by this majesty that came with her. This majestic Queen Esther emerged through her struggles, and throughout life we can recognize that when we go through a struggle and we're feeling crushed and broken, if we can tap into recognizing that kassus lama'ar, that's what the Jewish nation is at its core, that the olives teach us this message, and that is very much connected to Purim and us as a Jewish nation, that when we're crushed, if we can only recognize that we're being squeezed in order to produce light and to squeeze out of us tremendous kochot and power and traits within us to shine that would not have been possible had we not been crushed, we can get through that with majesty and with splendor and with realizing that we can grow through it. And the faster we can recognize how we can grow through the crushing experience, the faster we can shed that terrible experience and rise above it and transform it into a transformative experience and not a crushing experience. This really plays into this really gives this new fairy tale story, watching Esther's transformation, where it's different than any other fairy tale that we grew up with as kids. Every fairy tale that we grew up with involved a beautiful princess who mostly was chosen for her immense beauty, that she was the most beautiful in the land, and then she's a damsel in distress and she falls into a distressful situation, and a handsome prince comes and saves her. And Esther is anything but that. She is the opposite of that. And I feel like this is such an empowering fairy tale to watch Esther as the true heroine and the true fairy tale, to not teach our children that what matters is external beauty and that you're the damsel in distress and you need a prince to come and save you, but to see the true fairy tale of a beautiful queen and to go through the story. So I want to rewrite this fairy tale where we see Queen Esther, who's chosen not only for her external beauty. Many Meforshim say that she was 70 years old. Her skin was green. Some people say that she was not beautiful at all. Some say that she was. And some say that some say she was very beautiful. And others say that Achashverosh was a miracle that he chose her, because she wasn't that beautiful on the outside at all. And the words in the Megillah don't say that he found her attractive. It says that she found grace and favor in his eyes. Right? She found chen. Chen is an inner beauty, rather than yifas toar and yifas mar'eh. So she had an inner beauty that shone through, and that is what Achashverosh appealed to him. Some even say that she was not attractive at all, and that it was a miracle. Some hidden miracles happened, that it was a cold night, and that Hashem orchestrated, and that she warmed Achashverosh up, and she got into his heart in that way. So not necessarily was she the beautiful princess that you see in every other fairy tale. There was something inside of her that was beautiful, that was chen, that she shone through, that appealed to Achashverosh. Even if she was the most beautiful woman in the land, even if we follow that opinion, her story is so different than any other princess's story, where the damsel in distress is saved by a prince. So she was the damsel in distress. She did go through a crushing experience where she was taken away and forced to marry this king that she didn't want to marry. But her story, unlike the other fairy tales, didn't end with a prince saving her and coming with, slashing away the enemies. It ended with her recognizing that ultimately she's the one who has to take her fate into her own hands, and that everything is from Hashem, and that all she needs to do is daven. And rather than use her beauty to seduce Achashverosh, which would have made the most sense for anyone else in that position, she was beautiful. That's what he loved about her in the first place. So make herself as beautiful as she can, go into his room, and then ask him to save the Jewish people. That would be the most logical thing to do. But on Purim, we defy logic completely, and we'll discuss that's what Purim is at its essence. And Esther was the heroine in the way that instead of saying, well, he loved me for my beauty, let me be beautiful and appeal to him in that way, and hopefully he'll save me, which may work. Instead, she said, all this is obviously coming from Hashem. The only reason that I'm here is from Hashem. So let me daven and ask the Jewish people to pray, and let me fast and turn to Hashem, because ultimately he's going to be the one that's going to save me. That's a true heroine who recognizes that she has the power to understand what's really going on here. And instead of making herself beautiful, she did the opposite. She fasted and for 3 days and didn't eat. Imagine how dry and cracked and sunken her skin was, instead of making herself beautiful. And she instructed all the Jewish people to fast for her as well, and did the true heroine thing. She didn't ask someone to come in and save her. She did resist at first her position, and then overcame that struggle, which shows us how human and relatable she was. And instead she appealed to Hashem and realized that it is all Hashem, and came to Achashverosh with that knowledge. What a heroine that is. And she saved the day. There was no prince coming in and saving her. And this is a true modern, contemporary, that fits so much into what we value, into our values of what someone who is beautiful on the outside and on the inside, and someone who used her inner strength to save the day and to save the entire nation. And like all the other princess fairy tale stories, the princess saves herself, or the prince saves her. Here she didn't only save herself, she sacrificed herself to save everybody else, and really put herself on the line. And this is what we can teach our children, as this is what fairy tale is. This is what a true heroine is, someone who beautiful is. And we dress like Queen Esther and embody her inner values and her external values as well. And it's the whole package, her beauty reflecting her inner soul. Anyone want to add something? Cheers. Welcome to all our viewers. And I'll end up with a thought of the Baal Shem Tov, that he says that anybody who reads the Megillah lemafreya, which means backwards, it's as if he didn't fulfill the mitzvah at all. So who on earth is reading the Megillah backwards? Why would someone do that? I have no idea. But what the Baal Shem Tov means in internal way is that anybody who reads the Megillah backwards, as if it happened many years ago, he didn't fulfill the mitzvah of Purim. That anybody who looks at the Megillah and says, this happened to Esther and Mordechai many years ago, and it's a story, it's a historical story, they were Yotza Purim, because that's not what Purim is. It's not a time to remember what happened then. It's a time to experience Esther's journeys as our own, and Mordechai's journeys as our own, and the Jewish people's journeys as our own, and read the Megillah as though it's happening to us, because it is, and we are re-experiencing this. And I bless us all to receive tremendous blessings in our lives on a personal and a communal and global level. We should experience Yeshua's. Each of us should just, Hashem should pour the buckets and buckets of brachos on us beyond anything that makes sense. And the Yeshua should be beyond what is logical, like Purim. And we shouldn't limit Hashem to logic and say, well, I need the bracha in this way because this doctor or this business transaction or this Yeshua, because Purim is beyond logic and Hashem is infinite and He can bless us in any way. And we should really be open to receiving brachos in the most miraculous, tremendous ways. And see the ultimate revelation and the Gillat Esther and the ultimate revelation of Esther very speedily soon.
Everyone's sitting here. Should also be blessed.